What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about what's going to be coming in the upcoming update for Madden 20. We have another big update coming. More than likely, I would say it's going to be this week because we didn't get one last week, and it seems as though every other week is when we're kind of getting the updates, at least the more significant ones. So if you are new to the channel and you want to stay up to date on what's new, all the updates and Madden tips and everything else, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you never miss any of the uploads. Let's try to get 2,000 likes on this video as well. It does help the video out a great bit, and I appreciate it. So what's coming in the upcoming update? Either probably this Thursday, that's when we get the updates. Worst case would be the following week, but I really think it's coming Thursday. One of the big things that's been talked about since the last update is we're going to be getting a nerf to the run game in some capacity. I don't know exactly how they're going to nerf it, but I'm going to talk about what I think they might do, and also kind of some things that you're probably going to see happen as a result of this. So as many of you know, it's extremely easy to run the ball in Madden 20, the easiest it's been in a very long time, and it's kind of creating, you know, a boring meta because you get online, a lot of people just want to run stretch and dive because it is very effective. Now, in my opinion, the run game as a whole isn't that hard to stop. There's definitely good run defense in the game, but when you mix the abilities with the run game, that's when it kind of gets a little bit annoying because you could have great run defense and someone could just truck right through you or hit you with the arm bar ability or the jukebox ability and kind of get around you and win the animation game. But I think run defense as a whole, you know, there is a good amount of it in the game. Now, when they nerf the run game, what they typically do, because if you look at the past few years of Madden, the run game hasn't been very good, and it's been because of one major thing, and that is block shedding. It seems as though, not even just EA, sports games in general, they struggle to find balance, and what I've found in Madden is when they try to fix the run game, or when they try to make the run game not so overpowerful, the main thing that they seem to do is they just turn up the block shedding from defensive linemen and linebackers. They just make them block shed at a very high rate to where running the ball is almost useless, to where you have to have amazing stick to be able to almost anticipate the block shed and like swerve around the block shed, which is really not how the run game is supposed to go. And this year, the block shedding, I would say, in the run game is less effective than it has been in the years past. And when you combine that with the fact that pursuit angles are so bad, that's what's making the run game worse than anything, is the pursuit angles. But the pursuit angles in Madden have never really been that good. So I don't see them somehow fixing the pursuit angles in order to nerf the run game. I just don't see that happening because they've never really been able to get pursuit angles in the state that they probably want them to be and the state that they should be in. So when they correct things, they tend to overcorrect. Not just EA, but like I said, other sports games, but something specifically with EA, they overcorrect. So what's going to probably happen is you're going to see the block sheds get turned up to the point where being a run first player or being a run heavy player just isn't the smartest thing to do anymore. Because right now, the run game, in my opinion, isn't broke at all. It's just easy. It's very easy. There's a difference between something being easy and something being broken. The run game's not broken. It's just when you combine abilities with the fact that pursuit angles in Madden aren't good, it makes the run game easy. But it's not broken. I would say that there's more things broken with the passing game than there is with the run game, and that's what you're going to start to see when they nerf the run. You're going to start seeing the problems with the passing game because there's tons of things, in my opinion, that's broke with the passing game. You just don't see it that much because most people are just running the ball the majority of the time because, like I said, it's easy. But once they turn the block shedding up, is what they're probably going to do, it's not going to make sense to run the ball because in past Maddens when they've done this, it doesn't really, the ratings don't balance out. So yeah, if you got a guy with 95 block shed going up against a guy that has 75, 80 run block, yeah, that block shed guy should win the majority of the time. But if you got somebody that has the equal run block to the defender's block shed, or even a little bit higher run block to the defender's block shed in past Maddens, the guy with the guy on defense would win the majority of the time, even if his ratings were equal or lesser, because block shedding was just kind of like a switch they could flip, and it's like, okay, we're just gonna block shed crazy now. And that's how they nerf the run game typically. They just make it to where running doesn't make sense anymore, because even if you have the gap, even if you have the lane, even if the defense is, you know, not in an alignment that's really strong against the type of running formation you come out in, you just get an instant block shed, and even though you called the right play, you get no gain or you lose a yard. And that's why people haven't been run heavy for the past few years, because block sheds are very random, and it doesn't matter if you call the right thing, they can just happen at a moment's notice and completely kill your play. And that makes it harder for you to convert first downs on your drive. So people just started going pass heavy because you can't control how the block shed works. This year, because you're not seeing the random block sheds time, down in and down out time and time again, it actually is smart to run the ball now. So I would expect that to happen. But then what you're going to start seeing is in the pass game, dropped picks are really bad right now. And they said that they fixed this in an update a few updates ago. But to me, they've gotten worse as of late. The past few weeks of me playing the game, I'm seeing more drop picks than I've ever had, especially in coverage. People throwing passes in a double coverage, triple coverage. It almost seems impossible to get an interception when they do that now, which is just crazy. The funny thing about Madden is it seems like it's a lot easier to get a pick if they just throw it straight at you one-on-one. If you're just a defender in front of a receiver, it seems easier to get the pick in that situation than if they throw it in the double or triple coverage. Even though you have more bodies there to get the hands on the ball, it seems like the way the animations play out, you just almost never get the interception. And in fact, a good bit of the time, the offensive player catches the ball, which is terrible because people are once again, around this time every year of Madden, things get tuned, and it seems like throwing passes into coverage begins to be rewarded more and more to where it's almost not even the worst thing in the world to throw it into coverage, because there's a good chance you're going to come down with it, and if you don't, it's going to be an incompletion, which is still a win for the offense in that situation because you're throwing a very dangerous pass with not much risk involved. So you're going to start to see that become a problem. And then the most overpowered ability, the most broken ability in the game is the escape artist for quarterbacks. While all the other abilities, there are some crazy ones. Obviously, the arm bar, the jukebox, things like that, they are a little crazy at times, but most of them have somewhat of a decent counter, right? If someone wants to, run the ball and use these running abilities, an enforcer ability completely negates it for the most part. An enforcer ability is going to make sure that they wrap up and get the hit stick, or if you have like a secure tackler ability, more times than not the defender wins in that case. And even if you don't have that ability, if you go and take out the legs by doing a low hit stick on the right stick, you're usually going to win. So there are counters to that. It can be annoying, but there's counters. With escape artist, there really truly is no counter because everybody with escape artist behind the line of scrimmage, they pretty much have like 99 speed behind the line of scrimmage. Whether it's Lamar Jackson, Marcus Mariota, it doesn't matter who it could be, right? Obviously, Lamar Jackson's the fastest QB, but in Ultimate Team, you could have like Steve Young, who's way slower than Lamar Jackson. But behind the line of scrimmage with escape artists, they're the same speed. They can outrun QB spies. Even spies that are faster, like you could put a 90 speed safety in a spy, and the 82 speed quarterback with escape artist can outrun him, which is absolutely ridiculous. They can outrun the QB contains a good bit of the time. Sometimes contains will get them, but if you're playing someone that knows what they're doing, they can outrun the QB contains, and they can literally have almost all day to pass, and they can run around and throw those crazy passes that we were told wouldn't be a thing this year. So the run game is going to be nerfed. Try to sum all this up, but you're going to start to see how annoying the passing game is if they don't also address some of the issues with the passing game as well. So I think that's an update that could potentially have the game take a turn for the worse, even though if you just hear run game being nerfed, you think the game's going to get better. I'm not quite sure that's going to happen, but we have to see how they implement it. The other thing that we know they're going to be updating soon is zone coverage once again, because when they did a zone coverage update, about a month ago, they made zones a lot better. They said they're going to also be doing further tuning to zones in a later update. We haven't seen that yet, so that would lead me to believe within the next update or two, we're going to see more tuning done to zones. Personally, I think zones are fine right now. If anything, I think they're almost too good in certain situations in terms of how they break on the ball with their back turned and things like that. I think in some situations the reaction and the breaking on the ball is a little bit overpowered, but zone play as a whole has improved a lot since that update. I don't really personally think it needs much more tuning, but they said there's more tuning coming, so we'll see what that does. The scum kick is another big one. We have this issue every year in Madden. If you don't know what the scum kick is, it's just every year people find a way to kick off the ball in such a way that, they can aim it to the sideline and they can, find the perfect power, perfect accuracy combination, and they can place it on the sideline. There's different variations of it. In one situation, they could pin it in a spot where it almost makes you take a safety and you have no control over it, because when you try to pick up the ball, because of where it lands and how it bounces, the animation that you get when you scoop up the ball, it forces you to run backwards into the end zone and you can't break out of it, and you take a safety. There's other situations where they put it on the sideline and your guy dives to try to recover it and he kind of just rolls out of bounds and you get pinned, on the 5 to 7 yard line, when in reality, you know, that ball in real life would pretty much always go out of bounds and you get the ball at the 40. But because they found the perfect way to place it every time, your guy is going to jump on it and roll out of bounds, and you had no chance to do anything about it. And then there's the other version where they can place it in the perfect spot where it's almost impossible for you to recover the ball quickly, and thus they can run down with a fast player, recover it, and it's almost like they recovered an onside kick and they get the ball. So they said that they are looking into this. Every year this is an issue, and they eventually wind up fixing the issues, but then people find more ways to do it later down the line. In terms of kickoff, look, this is what I would suggest, because, you know, EA and a lot of these game companies, they band-aid things when they fix them. Sometimes it works for the better. Sometimes it can be a half-ass fix. Like, you know, if a play is popular in the game and they just can't figure out how to slow it down, they'll just take the play out of the game, or they'll just change routes on the play to make it completely different because they just couldn't figure out how to stop that route combination from working. They've done things like that a ton of time. With the kicking of the ball off, I would be in favor of just not allowing people to aim their kickoffs, because anybody that's aiming their kickoff is almost always doing it to try to get some type of cheap advantage when they do it. In real life, teams aren't trying to kick the ball off inside the 10-yard line right on the sideline, because if they did that, it would go out of bounds the majority of the time and it would give their opponents the ball at the 40. Almost every kickoff you see in real life is kicked straight down the middle as hard as they can kick it. You know, one of two things happens. It either goes to the middle of the end zone and the guy takes a touchback, or maybe they can, you know, aim it perfectly to where it kind of drops on the 1-yard line and it forces the guy to return it and possibly not get to the 25-yard line. But they always go straight down the middle. Nobody's kicking the ball to the sideline. So I would just be in favor of not letting people aim the kickoffs. Force people to kick it down the middle, because it's not realistic anyway, and all it does is cause problems. And every year we shouldn't have to keep facing the same kickoff problems. Like, we know what people are going to do if you give them the freedom to aim the kickoff, so just take that part of it out of the game. I think that's the right thing to do. Other updates that we're going to have, franchise mode, the 5th year options for rookies. I mean, I think that should be coming soon. They said at the beginning of the year that was going to be patched into the scenario engine. Still haven't seen it yet, but with the last update 2 weeks ago, they did add a lot of new scenarios to the scenario engine, and they did a lot of franchise updates. So this is kind of the last thing left that they talked about doing that they haven't done yet. So I would expect that to be in the next wave of franchise updates, along with more player likeness stuff like face scans. We know they got Greg Olsen's face scan, but it's still not in the game. People were asking me about that on the last update. I think how they do the face scans, to my knowledge, is they're constantly getting new batches of face scans, because there's just so many players in the NFL and there's so many people that need to be scanned, and they, you know, schedules conflict and they don't always get everybody they want. So they're constantly getting new scans and new batches, but they can't really, to my knowledge, they can't put them all in a single update, because just getting the scan isn't enough. You have to sculpt it, you have to put it on the player, you have to make it look right. It's not as easy as just pressing a button and now the player has the scan. You have to actually sculpt it and make it fit, you know, the head and all that, you know, complicated stuff that I don't really know much about. So when you see face scans and player likeness updates, you usually see them come, you know, 10 or 20 at a time. So there's a lot more players they still need to get in the game, like Greg Olsen. They got some other Carolina Panthers guys that they scanned. There's guys like Chris Carson that still doesn't have a face scan. I would imagine he's coming soon as well. So that's something you should be on the lookout for as these updates keep rolling out. More uniform and equipment updates as well. We saw with the last update they added a lot of equipment, which was really good. They're going to keep adding more to the players that need certain equipment. I've been following the guy on Twitter, and he's been alluding to certain things like, yes, this player needs his face mask, this player needs this, certain uniforms need to be tweaked. So that stuff's coming as well, so be on the lookout for all of that. And if you do play Madden Ultimate Team, coming either later this week or next week, I believe later this week, probably look out for that on Friday, the most feared promo, the biggest Halloween promo we see every year, one of the fan favorites. That should be hitting the game later this week, if not early next week. So if you do play Ultimate Team, I'm sure you're probably really excited about that. So prepare for it, get your binders ready, you know, sell off the stuff that you need to sell off and be ready for that, because there's going to be a lot of new content coming with that promo. So that's all for today. That's what you could expect to come within this week, next week. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you did, as always, you know the drill. Just like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.